So, welcome to episode 114 of The Bar is Ankle High, your favorite ADHD podcast that explores life's low bars with wit and wisdom. My name is Katie.
And I'm Garrett.
And any big announcements? I don't think anything is changed. No. You need to let your dog in.
Is that picking up on the microphone?
I mean, I heard it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to come up in the recording.
If I just got situated after all of that. And he's like, wait.
Don't forget your headphones.
I remembered. Yeah. Come on. What ADHD?
To be fair, that was not on you, probably.
No, it really wasn't. I specifically left things open for him, but What if instead I walk out and then panic because I walked out? Okay. Try that.
All right.
I'm leaning into my grandma look today.
Well, yeah, because if you're on Patreon, you know, but for those who aren't on Patreon, it's fucking freezing again.
Freezing.
And we're really mad about it.
So cold. So sick of being cold.
Yep. Yeah. Part of the problem is also that it hasn't been warm long enough for all of the snow to have melted yet. Ugh. So I can't put down the tarp to kill the grass where I want to expand my garden. I can't do other things. Mm-hmm. I can't start yard cleanup.
Yeah, it's killing me.
Even though it's cold. There's just all these different things that I would love to start doing.
Yeah.
But shan't because there's still snow on the ground. And also now today it's 10 motherfucking degrees out.
And windy. At least it's windy here.
It was definitely windy here last night. And this morning, I guess it was windy, but I did not stay outside with the dog while she figured out where and when and if she wanted to pee.
Which little perfect spot on the perfect snowflake.
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, it's been fucking freezing, but it's also worth pointing out that, after we recorded last week's episode 113, the White House shared an AI generated video of what it would do in Gaza. So I just think it's important that everybody just know and acknowledge and dedicate space in their heart for the fact that we predicted the future, because we were shitting on AI and our government's use of it. So I don't know. I just thought it was worth mentioning how right we are all of the time. And no, I will not be taking any questions. Thank you.
On the flip side, I do love the AI generated images that were shown in, was it HUD? Somebody hacked the not the CCTV, but their internal server that has we have that at my job, something on loop about whatever's going on that month, either customer or citizen feedback and compliments for specific workers, or in February there was stuff about Black history and labor relations and things like that. So nice.
But yeah, so it was hacked with.
It was.
I mean, they said it was AI. I don't know.
Maybe.
First of all, we don't know if Elon has 2 left feet or not. And second of all, it seems like it was very documentary style. So they haven't actually said that that's not found footage. So, I mean,
you're so happy with yourself.
I'm just saying, they haven't denied it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So maybe it is really somebody recorded on their cell phone Donald Trump sucking Elon Musk's toes in the Oval Office. Maybe. Ew. And maybe Elon Musk has the feet of a hobbit. Who knows?
By the way, what's on your shirt?
It's a plate of cookies. It's from the Jeff Arcuri comedy tour.
He tells a story on the back. It's like a blue Cookie Monster-esque thing, critter that says, "Where's the cookies, bitch?" Because he has a skit where he talks about how, because he does a lot of crowd work, and somebody in the crowd was like, "Oh yeah, I work at a credit union," and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got fired from one once for stealing," and then like pauses and then like goes back to the beginning, and he was stealing this woman's food, thinking that it was like communal food.
Yes.
Like, so he was like, because
yes, I saw that.
Yes. Yeah. So it's one of his merch shirts is "Where's the cookies, bitch?"
Oh, that's great. That's cute. It's a really cute design too.
It is a super cute design.
Yeah.
And it's a super comfy shirt. So
Nice.
10 out of 10. If you have the opportunity, folks, just first of all, if you have the opportunity to see Jeff Arcuri live, I would recommend it. It was funny. It was a good show.
Yeah, I would believe that. I've seen like his clips are extremely funny.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but that's the shirt I'm wearing. So it's just a little plate of cookies, and I guess like it could be considered like a little cloche over it, but I don't know. It's squiggly.
Yeah, it's cute.
In any event, yeah. So if you listen to episode 113, you know sort of what today's going to be about, but maybe you don't. Maybe I'm going to throw you for a loop. Oh, well, Cole's got a scratch. So again, if you're on Patreon and you're seeing the background of my footage.
He just had the most alarming look on his face.
That's how he looks all of the time.
Oh my God.
Every single moment of his life is pure terror.
Yeah, that's like my
Doesn't
dog.
matter. We are alone in this office and he's
Yeah.
still horrified by
like,
everything.
Our kindred spirits. He's literally laying underneath me like, I don't know.
We're never going to make it out of this alive.
know
Mom.
about
I don't know
this.
what to tell you.
Yes. Yes. So I think in every way, Katie and I are existing in parallel universes right now.
Yeah, now we're very much like the in the Da Vinci Code when they're talking about the Last Supper and how Mary was in blue and Jesus was in red, and it was like the divine masculine and feminine, because now you're in blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Duh.
I'm just used to much more unhinged references, I guess.
Well,
Namely that one where the guy is talking about his peen being made of concrete.
oh yeah, but that wasn't from the Da Vinci Code.
No. Those are the references I'm used
Tom
to.
Hanks in Paris talking about his cock made out of concrete. That was the director's cut.
Speaking of sheer terror, he's just pacing in and out and in and out.
So remember how we talked about Willowbrook and the Pennhurst State School?
I do.
So I thought we could start by talking about the St. Coletta Institute for Backward Youth. Oh, yeah.
Backward? Mm-hmm. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, but it also made me picture like The Exorcist when she's going down the stairs backwards and it's like her arms are bending in the wrong direction. That's what it made me think of, is like,
Yeah.
or like the siren lady from What We Do in the Shadows where her legs bent like a bird's.
Oh, yeah. The one that was hatching eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Colin Robinson was in love with.
Fell in love with.
So anyway,
5 stars.
it was actually founded in Jefferson, Wisconsin in 1904 and was a medical, residential, and educational institution for developmentally disabled individuals. And it was founded because 4 families from a nearby St. Lawrence Catholic church had asked the father of that church, the head, if you're not Catholic, like the priest assigned to that church, George Meyer, to care for their disabled children. So like 4 separate families had developmentally disabled children who needed care. So they founded this St. Coletta Institute for, quote, backward youth. And
Was it
the
just youths?
It started
was it
out that
adults
way.
also?
It ended up providing
like kind of like housing for adults as well. So the property that they used for St. Coletta was purchased because it was next to an existing convent and school for girls that was operated by Franciscan nuns. And the nuns then began operating the institute as well. So an additional dormitory was built in 1937 to house the adult graduates of the school, called the Alverno Dormitory. And eventually the whole campus of the St. Coletta Institute included multiple residence halls, chapels, classrooms, a natatorium. Do you know what that is?
No.
So I thought for sure it was like a nursery, like natal.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because
makes
it's
sense.
spelled Natorium.
Yes, I would assume the same.
So it's not. It's indoor aquatic facilities. It's like an indoor pool with like swimming and diving plus whatever else. And I was like, okay. That was Garrett's dog, guys. But yeah, so there's
What
also
dog?
just a goblin. And so they also had this natatorium, an infirmary, and an administration building. At some point in the 1930s, they dropped the crazy name, St. Coletta's Institute for Backwards Youth, and became known as the St. Coletta School for Exceptional Children, and ultimately became the largest, oldest, and most influential Catholic school in the United States that specialized in the care and education and training of the mentally disadvantaged, while also encouraging views of various mental conditions to change on a national level, according to the Wisconsin Historical Society. So kind of crazy that like the Catholics were responsible for so much innovation and like care for developmentally disabled individuals. But this is also the Catholic nuns. So I'm just going to give the women a little bit more credit than the men here. Right? I just feel like that's fair.
That's always my default, to be honest. Am I gonna
But like, who gives a shit about the school, right? There's no expose. I couldn't find any allegations of horrible abuse.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask. Like,
yeah, no, I couldn't find
was,
anything.
They treated people like people?
Right, and they still operate today. They have a nursing home, a senior living center, and educational facilities for people who are developmentally disabled.
Wow.
And now it's known just by the St. Coletta School for Exceptional Children name, not the Backwards Youth.
Yeah, that's a
nonsense. Like, just a crazy name.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
Backwards
sense.
Youth. Like, granted, we've heard some like absolutely bananagrams names anyway, but like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was just very surprised by the Backwards Youth. I don't like. It feels like that thing where it's
phrasing.
like the boomer in your life is trying to be politically correct and says the most outlandish fucking thing.
And you're like, oh, that's worse.
But you know, like they're trying to come from a good place.
Yes.
They just are like executing it improperly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it felt when I was like reading about it. So beyond like what the Catholic Church is responsible for en masse, like I couldn't find any allegations of other abuse. So, wow. I mean, that's not to say it doesn't exist. If you do
Right.
know that it exists, like
Right.
I'm not discounting that. I just wasn't able to find like a Geraldo level like expose
yeah.
happening. But so this was founded in 1904. In 1908, Joseph Patrick Kennedy Sr. graduated the Boston Latin School before attending Harvard College, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics in 1912. His first job after graduating college was as a state-employed bank examiner in Massachusetts, but in 1913, a bank called the Columbia Trust Bank, which his father, Patrick Joseph Kennedy, owned a significant share of, and that bank was under threat of takeover. And hearing about that, Joseph borrowed $45,000 from friends and family. Do you want to guess what that would be equal to today?
Like $1 million.
Yeah, 1.4 million in 2024. So he just, borrowed 1.4 million.
Even if he just went around and borrowed $45K from friends and family, I would be like, wow.
Oh my God. Like to receive $45K right now out of the blue would be like a life-changing amount of money for me.
Right.
Like so much, like I would have no more personal debt other than like my student loans.
Right.
What was that?
I'll give you one guess.
Garrett's ghost, Mr. Kramer, just tried to take the mic away from her.
It probably did look like a ghost, like from
it
your
really did,
like the mic just like flying across.
Because also, like your response was like not. It was like what I would expect your response to be if you were like this pesky ghost that lives with me. Like whatever, he's just annoying.
Pesky ghost. Oh, that is something I would say. So I mean, fair point.
So yeah, borrowed 1.4 million from friends and family, and bought control of the bank. So he was 25 years old and was then elected as the bank's president, and caused him to announce that he was the youngest bank president in America. But so the thing about that is that in my research, like there was a caption of a picture of him on Wikipedia, and it said like him at age 25 when he claimed to be America's youngest bank president. And it just seems like using the word claimed is like, they just haven't been able to confirm that by anybody. But it's also like, it was 1912, 1913. Like exactly how hard was it for a white guy in America to become the president of a bank? Like probably not very hard at all.
Also,
I feel like it's not hard now for a white guy in America to become president of a bank.
Crypto,
Right.
Yes. No, agreed. I'm just like kind of also the arrogance to be like, I must be the youngest one ever.
Yes. And I think it's important to just like remember that air of arrogance.
Right. It's like, it's not enough that you like was able to crowdsource from your friends and family like all this money.
He GoFunded me the purchase of a bank. That's what he did.
Truly. And then
meanwhile, everyone else out here is like GoFunding cures for cancer.
Yes. And then he's like patting himself on the back and wanting recognition for being the youngest, which is completely unsubstantiated.
Yeah. Speaking of GoFundMe though, my cousin Henry, who we've talked about before, has a rare disease that they're trying to formulate a cure for. They only have, of the $3 million they needed to raise, they only have to raise another $350K. So they're really, really close to their goal, and they're hoping to get him treated before the fall.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So they're almost at the finish line. Yeah, so very excited. I can't wait for him to get treated.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, just so like he doesn't have to, have a seizure every day of his life and stop breathing just 'cause.
Yes.
So anyway, Joe Kennedy claimed to be the youngest ever president of a bank in America, which lies.
Of course it is.
I feel like Alexander Hamilton was a younger president of America's bank, but what do I know? I know literally nothing, so I'm sure that's a wrong fact. I don't care though. That's the thing.
Facts don't matter anymore, so, No.
And I feel like Alexander Hamilton would have mopped the floor with Joe Kennedy too. So whatever.
There's lots of people he would have mopped the floor with.
Yeah. So Joey Kennedy also owned an investment company called Old Colony Realty Associates, which bought and sold distressed real estate throughout the U.S. So like after the fires in California, he'd go and pay the owners of the properties pennies on the dollar and then redevelop the land to scam a profit.
Wow. What a guy.
Yeah. So in 1914, when he became that bank president, he married his wife, Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy. She was the daughter of the mayor of Boston.
Okay.
So these two Catholic freaks went on to have 9 kids. JFK was their second born child, born May 29th, 1917. And then less than 19 months later, Rose gave birth on Friday, the 13th of September, 1918, to Rosemary Kennedy. She's also known as Rosemary Kennedy, and then, like, I don't know, they just, like, really played it fast and loose with the name Rosemary. That's all I have to say about that. During World War I, Joseph Kennedy profited from wartime production as the assistant general manager of a major Bethlehem Steel shipyard in Quincy, Massachusetts, which is also what gave him the chance to meet then Assistant Secretary of the Navy Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In 1919, he joined the stock market and was said to be, quote, an expert in dealing with the then unregulated stock market, which would today be considered engaging in insider trading and market manipulation violations. He also became a multimillionaire after the 1929 stock market crash by taking short positions on assets, which means that the only way he would profit is if the value of the stock asset dropped, which is what happened with the GameStop thing.
Okay.
A few years ago, where like regular people started doing that, and then they all freaked out.
Yes.
The rich people did anyway.
Yes.
According to Joe Kennedy, he, quote, survived, unquote, the stock market crash because he, quote, possessed a passion for facts, a complete lack of sentiment, and a marvelous sense of timing. Anyway.
Thank you for adding that.
You're welcome.
My sentiments.
In 1929, his net worth was estimated to be about $4 million, which was $73.2 million in 2024. And by 1935, his wealth had increased to $180 million, which in 2024 is equal to $4.13 billion. Yes.
I didn't realize it was like that kind of wealth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like,
I figured like hundreds of millions. I was not expecting billions.
Equivalent to billions. He set up $1 million trust funds by the mid-1930s for each of his 9 children at that point. Probably more that are unclaimed or
who knows?
Illegitimate children.
Yes.
If I had to guess. But while he was also doing all of the shit in the stock market, he was out in Hollywood getting involved in production company stuff, which included having a 3-year affair with Gloria Swanson, which only ended when she discovered an expensive gift from him had been charged to her own account. Which is like some new age.
That is some sloppy work.
Well, he must have done it so that his wife didn't see the charge, but it's like, I just find it to, like I wrote, this is some new age audacity for a trifling motherfucker. Like, what the fuck?
Yes. Yes.
He was also noted to have had an affair with Marlene Dietrich and his personal secretary, Janet de Rossier Fontaine.
That sounds like a made up name. You want to talk about a fake Hollywood name? Well, that's a fake Hollywood sounding name.
Yeah, that was just his secretary's name, Janet. Marlene Dietrich, though, she's famous.
Yeah, so. What do I know that name from? What was she?
Oh, she's been in like she was in like a lot of those like Gumshoe Detective type movies.
Okay.
She wasn't, but like
related to.
She always reminds me of the woman from the old-timey movie they show in Home Alone, where she's like, I was dancing at the Blue Moon last night. Like, that's what Marlene Dietrich looks like. But it's also been alleged that during the 1920s, he was involved in some bootlegging activities, most likely transport and importing stuff, because his father had a liquor import business before Prohibition.
I knew that's the only stuff that I guess I was like really aware of was
the bootlegging.
Yeah, was like that era.
So it's been alleged by other prominent bootleggers, but it hasn't been verified. However, I would not be surprised by this, because the moment Prohibition was repealed, he jumped into liquor importing, which would be a hell of a deviation from stock markets, banking, and Hollywood production companies without already being involved in those like streams of income.
He was just a grifter. It was just like any way he could make a buck.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Capitalism.
Yeah.
But this is like early stage capitalism when there was absolutely no regulation.
Yes.
He's the reason why a lot of regulation probably exists.
After supporting Roosevelt's first campaign for president in 1932, the 1934 establishment of the Securities and Exchange Commission meant that Joseph Kennedy became the first chairman of the SEC and landed him on the cover of Time magazine in 1935, which is also the same year he resigned from the SEC. So he was only the chairman of the SEC for like a year and a half, but he was the first chairman of the SEC. He did some other shit, like bounced around a bit, but then was appointed as ambassador to the UK from 1938 to 1940. And there was like a lot of rumors that he had his sights set on becoming president, and told a British reporter in 1939 that he hoped to succeed Roosevelt to the White House at the 1940 election cycle. However, during the Blitz of London, the Kennedy family, including Joseph, retreated to the English countryside during the bombings of London in World War II, which fucked up his public opinion with the British and resulted in British journalist and son of Winston Churchill, Randolph Churchill, to say, quote, "I thought my daffodils were yellow until I met Joe Kennedy," unquote.
Yeah. That is so devastating. What a like classic, absolutely cutting British.
Yes.
Saying
super
so
dry.
Little.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo. That's a tough one.
Yeah. But in 1938, the Kennedy family was received at Windsor Castle by King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, who we would have known as the Queen Mother. Rosemary Kennedy was presented to the king and queen as a debutante and is reported to have practiced the complicated royal curtsy for hours. At the actual event, Rosemary tripped and nearly fell, and her mother never discussed the mishap and treated the debut as a total triumph. And it was also noted that the king and queen acted as though nothing like untoward had happened.
And everybody's like, wow, they acted like people.
Well, so that's the thing. Like, okay, yes, like as an Irish American, the English monarchy can like suck a hairy pickle. But
Truly, yeah.
From what I saw on The Crown, and it did seem like Queen Elizabeth II, like though she had all these wacko rules for like how to behave, it seemed like they never really went out of their way to make a common person feel poor, like, or feel bad about themselves if they didn't get the etiquette exactly right.
Yeah.
Like it seems like they did have this kind of understanding of like, well, the rules exist for a reason, but it's okay. Like as long as you're trying almost so I mean, whatever.
You could see that a lot with all the different prime ministers she had too in The Crown.
Yes. Which again, I think those are pretty accurate representations of how she was in those meetings, but like we can never really know. So I don't know. But if that is accurate, I'm glad that that's how she was in private, where she was like trying to make sure that the new PMs felt comfortable speaking to her and like having very frank discussions that needed to be had without it being like stuck on like pomp and circumstance.
Right.
Kind of thing.
But like, and like ultimately is still a monarchist. Yeah. Like it's still all about the crown. So.
And the entire Kennedy clan attended the inauguration of Pope Pius XII in Rome in 1939. Fun fact, 7 months after Pope Pius was elected as Pope, World War II officially started. So if we could get Pope Francis healthy again, that would be super. He's been on thin ice lately.
I hate this. I want to get off this ride.
Yeah, it's not the best.
I'm available for abduction if there are aliens. Just beam me up at this point, please. And not enjoy. I want to unsubscribe from this. This is awful.
But speaking of World War II, Kennedy was known to be super anti-Semitic, stating,
"This guy's just
oh my god, through and through at every turn."
Yeah.
stating that, quote, some individual Jews are all right, but as a race, they stink, unquote. When told about the pattern of assaults against Jews in Germany, Kennedy responded, quote, well, they brought it on themselves, unquote. Yup.
Oh my God.
He was also quoted as stating World War II was not a fight to save democracy from Nazism or fascism. It was just a fight for self-preservation. He also referred to, quote, the Jew media, unquote, and was close to avid eugenicist and Nazi Charles Lindbergh, and stated that the problem with Kristallnacht was that it generated bad publicity, not that it was actually just crimes against people because of their religious belief or heritage. So,
holy shit.
Yeah, real fucking piece of work. And that's kind of like scratching the surface on his anti-Semitism. But I think, and we'll see next week, but that there's like a through line with this. So after World War II, Joe Kennedy continued his own political aspirations, of course. And then, seeing as 3 of his sons ended up in politics and one of them was president, that's very clear. He also was big on capitalizing on the Irish American populations within the U.S. Mm-hmm. But he was also a big Nixon supporter. Yuck. JFK actually described his father as being more to the right than Hoover. So extremely conservative. And that was despite capitalizing on the Irish American communities and Irish immigrant communities to get his own kids elected. But he did have a deal. I read something where he had a deal that his son, that John wouldn't speak negatively about Nixon if Nixon didn't run anti-JFK senatorial ads in Massachusetts to get JFK the senatorship in Massachusetts before he became president. So, yep.
Just like all I can think of is like, you know, they describe predators as being opportunistic. Mm-hmm. And he's one of the best examples of like a predatory, opportunistic, opportunist. Can you say that word for me, please? My brain is
opportunistic.
Thank you. Person. Fuck. Continue. Just continue. He was predatory.
He was predatory. He was also... He became very close with Joe McCarthy and the McCarthy area with McCarthyism. And, of course, like the Red Scare.
He's a villain. He's literally like a comic book villain. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Holy shit.
He's
like friends with all the other villains. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I was listening to an audiobook called The Hidden Rosemary The Hidden Kennedy. Mm-hmm. And his wife, Rose Fitzgerald, like got married and then like immediately regretted it. And her own father was like, well, you had a Catholic mass, so you can't get divorced. Oh my Basically God. Was like, you made your bed, now fucking lay in it.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah. So anyway, in 1961, Joe had a stroke that had left him unable to speak. Darn. And it was then, in 1961, that his 8 other children were told where Rosemary had been living since her lobotomy in 1941, so for a full 20 years. Rosemary hadn't had any visits from any of her siblings or either of her parents. And next week, we will pick up with the full story of Rosemary Kennedy.
That's where you're leaving it? Mm-hmm. That's diabolical, Catherine.
I know, but you get the full story today.
I know.
Does that make you feel better?
But on behalf of anybody listening.
I know, but there was so much about Joe, and I was like, either this is going to be a 3-hour episode or I have to split it. So I had to find a spot.
There was a show or a movie that they had somebody who played his character. Oh, and I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but it was about the Kennedys. I'll have to Google it. And I don't remember who played him, but I think when they recovered, he was like older. He was probably in his, it must have been right before his stroke then. But man, what a.
Yeah, he was born in 1888. So he was.
Hell.
Yeah, I mean, he was decently old when he had his stroke. I mean, he wasn't a little baby.
No, he was definitely old. Yeah, just what a trying to find a way to like undercut people and capitalize off of tragic events that are happening to people, and just slimy at every turn, like getting involved in like election fraud. I mean, that's fraudulent behavior as doing things to like impact election results. I mean, it's
absolutely. I mean,
I'm not loving the parallels, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. And again, it was like, you know, I'm doing this research and I was like, well, I thought it was going to be one episode just about Rosemary, and then I got into what Joe was like, and I was like, well, no, like I feel like it's really worthwhile talking about like what this fucker's done and how he's gotten to where, like how he got to where he was. He didn't invent anything. He crowdsourced money. He crowdsourced $1.4 million in order to buy a fucking bank and then became president. Now, I'm not saying that an economics degree from Harvard isn't worth anything.
Yeah, but I mean...
But, you know...
It's not worth that much.
Right. It's not worth 1.4 mil.
Right.
And...
certainly not in a lump sum.
It's also that sort of thing where there is no ethical billionaire, and to go from having a net worth of 4 million to a net worth of 180 million, even today, if in 6 years you make 4 million turn into 180 million, there's a disconnect. You're not doing that through hard work. You're doing that 100%. Through exploitation. Yeah. So like, even if we're not going to translate that into, you know, inflation adjusted prices of 73 million to 4.13 billion, even not doing that, which is an insane, it's so much more growth than like the 4 million to 180 million, I feel like. But like, regardless, it's just it just runs through everything. And the stuff with Hollywood, I like really like skimmed over it because it was like he was buying out theaters like AMC or Regal theaters, like buying out chains of theaters, then refusing to distribute certain production companies' movies if they like wouldn't deal with him. And then like one guy who owned a theater company, like Regal or something, had a chain of theaters. He offered to buy it for something like, back then it was like he offered to buy it for 8 million, which was like, I think 140 million today, roughly. The guy said no. And then the guy who owned these theaters was charged with rape and was acquitted. And after all of that, after a second trial, he was acquitted. But after that, his name had been ruined. And then Joe bought the chain for 3.5 million. So less than half of his original offer. Like, it ended up being, I think it's about 60 million-ish today, 65 million. So on her deathbed, the woman who accused him of rape said that Joe Kennedy had orchestrated the takedown campaign. So
that is psychotic.
Yeah. But there was like so much about him that I was like, I mean, his Wikipedia page is insane.
He's a walking red flag. Like, literally. Can you just imagine the mental exhaustion that would come from every single thing put in front of you? All you're doing is trying to plot and scheme and plan and I mean, the flip side of that is the things he could have done for good if he had that kind of creativity. He was applying to good and not evil. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's the same thing with fucking Elon Musk, where he was like, hey, if you give me a plan to solve world hunger for 6 billion, I'll do it. And then instead he bought fucking Twitter, which is a point in time that lives in my head rent free. I think about it
all
constantly.
The time. Yeah.
Because it's so direct. Like, it is one of the most categorically evil things. It's very much like I can't even think of the movie,
would be
but
a
I know
plot
it's like
point in like Hunger Games.
Yes, it's like telling a kid like, "Hey, if you bring me this, I'll give you food." And then
it's dystopian.
Yeah, and then the kid, brings you whatever, the newspaper, and then you're like, "Oh, sorry, I ran out of food. Goodbye."
Yeah.
And like you slam the door in their face. Like, it's fucking crazy.
It's dystopian. It's almost it's almost the same feeling of like scrolling through a social media feed where like you're having this mix of like people protesting and like news alerts that are going on, like crazy shit. And then you get an ad where somebody's like, buy these 6 skirts off Amazon. And you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah. It's also
that
that thing, though, where I bought, because you had them, the jeans from Halara, and I got a pair, and I love them. I'm going to have to get another pair.
They're amazing. They take so long to ship, and it's fast fashion. It's probably made in a sweatshop.
I don't understand why they take so long to ship. It took like a full 2.5 weeks for it to get to me.
It takes a really long time, and they're
it's
definitely
like
coming all the way
whatever
from China.
shipping company they use only operates between like 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. and that's the only time they can move your package during like Monday through Friday.
Yeah, it is very slow.
But I also got work pants from them, and I love them.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The fact that they have real pockets, that's the game changer.
Yes. Or
that's what makes it different.
Some of them, like I have a pair that's like high-waisted, like wide-legged, and they have like nice buttons on the front, but they don't actually button.
Yes.
So I have the look of having like a really nice structured jean, but I can like breathe in them.
Yeah. Yeah. My,
bend over.
The like flap where the button is for the fly doesn't get stuck in my belly button, and then try to perform like a laparoscopic surgery on me.
Yeah, because I've also had that.
Yeah.
There's just like, they're so nice. They're so nice.
I'm too chubby for regular pants.
And that's what, like, my body is just so, I'm shaped so different, and I carry weight so differently that I'm having to buy like different cuts of things, and I need things that are soft because I'm also constantly like squatting down and picking a human up, and then bending over and picking up toys, and sitting on the floor and putting her shoes on. So it's like I have to have stuff I need to be in like leggings basically, but this gives me an option to at least have something that's like not leggings,
right?
That I'm still comfortable and can move in.
Well, and that's like like it's nice to have clothing that I can wear that I don't feel constricted in. I don't feel like the seams are like pushing into me. Yeah. It's not ideal, but it's really only fast fashion if you wear it like it's fast fashion. That being said, like,
I'm also not buying like 600 pairs of pants from them and keeping 5 and sending them back to like our returns is just like going to a landfill. So
yeah. No, that's wild. Don't do that, folks. But I do think, it goes to that thing that we were talking about last week where it's like, yeah, you know what? My sourdough does bring me a little bit of joy, even though my countertops are constantly covered in flour now.
Oh, all the time. And like, I will say, so on the sourdough front, I think I made my perfect loaf the other day.
Ooh, I think I have a really good one in the fridge right now.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I have one downstairs.
I'm going to cook it tonight.
I'm definitely like not at all, like I don't follow any of the sourdough church rules. But I mix it at like whatever time I mix it. I didn't really feed this starter before. Like I did, but it was like 24 hours. So like wasn't as like fluffy this morning. It had like fallen a little bit. But I do that and the starter in the warm water, and then I add salt and flour and mix it and get a shaggy dough, and then I just let it sit for 30 minutes, and then I just do the folds every like 30 to 60 minutes. I don't know how many I do. It depends on how many. I do like at least 4, I would say. And then I let it sit for a few hours and then like shape it and then let that sit while the oven's warming up and the Dutch oven's warming up.
Yeah, it's the cold proofing part that I'm like struggling with, I think.
Yeah,
but
I did that with like my first loaf. I did a cold overnight proof in the fridge. With these, I start them in the morning, I bake them in the evening. And that's like you know, how nice the rise I get kind of depends on how much time I had, how many folds I did. But I'm getting like good, like consistent, tasty, you know, with a good rise.
Yeah. Yeah, I did find a good sourdough bagel recipe that I shared with you. And it was so fucking good.
Yeah, I want to try some bagels. I forgot. Oh,
yeah, those bagels came out slapping.
I wonder if I can. Oh, I can. I can do those today.
Yeah, because it wants active starter.
Yeah.
That recipe.
And I fed it this morning.
Yeah. So you should be able to make it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one, and you get to like knead it for a long time after you first mix it, which is like, it's like my favorite part of making bread is getting to knead the dough. I just think it's like so like meditative for me.
You might like you guys should try making pasta because you can hand knead the pasta.
I do have
dough.
semolina.
Yeah, you should. Because you can because that's dough that, I mean, that has to knead for like fucking 20 minutes. Like it needs for a super long time because it needs to be super like elasticy with the gluten buildup. But yeah, the sourdough is like really, I'm like really loving it. And it just has such nice flavor. It's just, it's the best. Yeah. It's a great process. I also saved like a month's worth of scraps that I like can't feed to the chickens or ducks. Like the heels of like onions, and I usually put like, you know, carrot bits and stuff that I'm cutting off. And I kept it in a bag in the freezer, and I just made a huge pot of veggie stock the other day.
Nice.
Yep. And I meant to film it and remembered at the end.
Yep. That's usually how it goes for me. That's why our content on TikTok is very intermittent. Because I forget a lot.
Same.
Was I going to film myself clearing out my closet yesterday? Absolutely. Did I? No.
Yeah. Oh, and almost all of my seeds have sprouted.
Same. I think I'm still waiting on something. I have my cukes going. My zucchini has like definitely taken off. My beans I need to like put into a planter, which I had them in a planter last year, like
just a
big
pot.
pot.
Yeah.
So I have to transfer some of them, and then I'll start some more because we eat green beans like it's nobody's business. But I gotta figure out like I need like a trellis or something.
Yeah, I usually do bush beans because I don't want to have to do the whole trellis thing.
That sounds sexual.
You know what? It does. I actually have some bush bean seeds if you want some.
Okay, what's a bush bean?
It's the same concept. It just grows like in a little bush instead of being a climbing plant. So you don't need like that. I usually put like a handful of them in a pot, and then I put like a tomato cage on the pot, and they just grow.
Oh, okay.
There. Just to support them a little bit because they do get kind of heavy. But you get like great production like the whole summer.
Yeah, I think that's what I did my first year, so like 2 years ago. And then last year I had these ones. And then I like basically set up like bungee cords like crisscrossed across my little garden so that they could like go out.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
they don't give a
you guys
shit.
are getting kind of tangled.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, this year my plan is also to have a little bit more intention with my garden. So we'll see. Which again, I just want the snow to be gone so I can
I know, man. I know.
color on my ground and figure out where everything's going to go.
Yes. Like I keep looking. We have this gigantic garden now, and it kind of just like was not taken care of for a full season.
Yeah.
So everything was just super overgrown, and we like kind of got it cut down in the fall. But there's these techniques of like establishing garden beds that I'm trying to figure out, you know, how little I'm going to do. And, you know, do I do half of it and then do but there's also like some perennials in there that are going to have to get like moved around. And there's just like, it's one of those, I know there's a million decisions to be made. So I just need the motherfucking snow gone.
Yes.
So I can go look.
Yes. Yep. That's where I'm at. And it's very frustrating. And I also need the snow to be gone so that I can like take my posts that are currently there out of the ground.
Yeah.
So that I can like, again, reorganize my shit and get it all situated.
It's like a whole
hurting
chain.
myself.
Yeah. It's like we need to we have a few like big projects that have to happen in the spring, and another one of them is getting, we need 2 separate chicken coops, and we need a duck house, because the ducks get
Duck house.
everything wet. And it means where I have to like clean up after the chickens way more than I normally would, because they're in with the ducks. So we need proper living arrangements for everyone, and then that's going to impact our.
Can you, put a little slide for the ducks into the water? So
I cannot tell you how many ideas we have for what to do with these ducks.
I'm so excited.
We've invested way more time in that than the things that actually like require time.
My sister got like 14 duck hatchlings that are living in her basement right now.
God. So
yeah,
cute.
she said that her basement has been invaded by quackheads.
I love that. Did she get like the runner ducks, the ones that are like tall with the little back
I don't
legs? I'm thinking about getting.
They were in her
more
hand,
of those.
so it was impossible to tell.
They're so fucking cute. They're so cute.
She was also at Sugarbush this weekend protesting JD Vance.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
We were watching clips of that, and I was like, this is so uniquely Vermont.
Yes.
I love it.
Of all the places to go skiing, that's
What a
choice.
choice.
You could have gone to Utah or
Jackson
Idaho.
Hole or wherever. Where all
But
the
you chose
billionaires go.
Vermont,
Yeah.
one of the bluest states in the country,
Oh, yeah.
with so many LGBT people.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Jesus fucking
No, it was really a
Christ.
choice. I loved that. And I'm trying to think. I thought I had another little thing. I have been working on a curtain, but
That's okay. We'll do it. We'll talk about those details at the intro for episode 115 for next week's episode.
Good idea.
If you want the hot goss, then join our Patreon for $5 a month at www.patreon.com/thebarisAnkleHigh. You get ad-free, extended cut, and video episodes. And the extended cut is mostly us talking about the crazy little shit we do all the time.
It's a good description. The crazy little shit we do.
We also have merch at bit.ly/Anklehigh merch. You can follow us on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Facebook, and YouTube at The Bar is Ankle High. And we are on TikTok at Ankle High Pod. Make sure that you are subscribed to our podcast wherever you are listening right now, so that it will automatically update every time a new episode comes out. And wherever you are listening, make sure that you're leaving us a 5-star review. And if you can, if it gives you that option, write out something. Give us your favorite quote from today's episode. Say that you love hearing about the dumb little shits we do.
Or bush beans.
Talk about your Bush's beans.
Or seeds.
Yeah.
Bush seeds.
But yeah, so if you do that, it's just really helpful. It's also free for you to do. So like, I don't know, in a world of capitalist decline, doing something for free seems like a really great way to rebel against the man. So like, why aren't you doing it yet?
There's the thread.
Anyway.
She did it.
But yeah, in the meantime, leave us a 5-star review in order to spite Joe Kennedy.
Yeah, let's put a hex on Joe Kennedy's ghost.
Yeah, because the bar is ankle high, folks. Bye.